Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 8 Simple Steps. Why Are You an Entrepreneur? Our weekly series where I bring you rock star entrepreneurs to share their wisdom, to share their challenges, triumphs, and certainly some inspiration. I'm Maureen Edwards. I'm the founder of 8 Simple Steps, and I eliminate the hard out of entrepreneurship by eliminating the overwhelm, the mistakes, and the complexity that can derail small business owners. The whole idea is for you to thrive and survive. And I always say, business does not have to be complicated, and you don't need to know everything. You just need to know what works. And this series is something that can work for you. Like I said, I have a rock star tonight, and I am not going to disappoint. I have Caroline Markel Hammond. She is a 3-time international best-selling author, and for 2022, she is one of the top 20 most inspiring leaders. So talk about a privilege for me to have her here. Caroline, welcome. I am so happy you are here, and I think this conversation is going to be amazing. So let's get into it. Can you please tell people a little bit about what you do and how you got here?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. To get to spend time with you, to talk about being an entrepreneur, it really does my soul well. So I love that we're spending time together on a random Thursday afternoon, and you've invited me here. So thank you.
Oh, the privilege is all mine. And I know this is going to be an amazing conversation because just the little that I know about you is incredible. So I'm excited to learn more and find out what got you to entrepreneurship. Tell me a little bit about the journey here.
It is something I never would have imagined. Had anyone asked me, even probably 7 years ago, if I ever wanted to be an entrepreneur, I would have, like, what? No. And I had a very successful sales career, about 3 decades in the pharmaceutical industry. And I was blessed to meet fabulous, incredible, smart folks, get to travel all over the country and talk with really smart people and solve problems for patients. I was probably the, no, not probably, I was the pharmaceutical rep. So I always went into conversations with, hey, what have you done and what have you tried? Because a lot of things can be done and tried before you ever have to turn to the drug that I would have happened to be selling. And what does that look like for your patients? And in so doing, I also brought in partners into those meetings. I brought in other pharmaceutical reps who maybe had an adjunct therapy that worked within mine, not the competition, but we could also tell how things would be conducive for patients. And maybe that was equipment, maybe that was different services, maybe it was an industry. For example, when I worked within Parkinson's, I would bring in the folks from the National Parkinson's Foundation to my offices so people could have the idea and services of what they could provide their patients in addition to the services, the products that I brought to their office. Now, that is all a very long preface to say that was probably my junior, I had 3 decades of junior high training in order to be an entrepreneur. And I decided to start that journey while I was still working full time. So, and that's really important. There's a lot of research out there, and I was even listening to a podcast from Jay Shetty, and Jay Shetty said, you really have to have a year and a half worth of money in the bank, and you have to have all of this thing. And if you can balance it where you're not taking away from your paying job while you're working your entrepreneur sideline, then it's an opportunity for you to do both. And sometimes when it's done right, you can parlay those experiences and be of service to your employer as you're exiting as well. And I did that because I was very diligent about making sure that what I was working on the side was not affected or done during the same hours as what I was being paid for by my company.
And this is a common theme that I am hearing week after week where entrepreneurs are saying keep your day job to pay the bills, but have that exit plan in place. And I want to take the word side hustle out of it because I
Mhm.
just don't think that's serious enough of what you are doing behind the scenes. It isn't just freelancing and hustling. This is really planning what you want to do for the future And I think it's so much more important than what we call a side hustle. So great advice again for entrepreneurs out there who, don't want to make the leap yet. People are saying to you, take it slow, do your due diligence. So
It's
that's
so
great.
true. And I love that you're taking side hustle out of it. I
Yeah.
used to make the analogy that I was raising a child,
Mm-hmm.
but I had 13 people because at the time, I had 13 volunteers within my nonprofit. And I had 3 people working on the for-profit, one of my for-profit businesses. So I have a nonprofit called Safe in Harm's Way. You can find Safe in Harm's Way at safeinharmsway.org. And then I also had a for-profit business called Epizon Strategy Solutions. And we work in a really specialized niche boutique style training and development that includes diversity, equity, inclusion as part of our training platforms as it relates to a company. I had people working on that at the same time that I was doing, my full-time job, but I was doing that on nights and weekends. And
Hmm.
so my development, the child I was raising with, 12 or 13 nannies was what was happening in the evenings and the weekends. And I would explain that to my paying job because of course when you're promoting things and the momentum starts to build, I wanted to be very sure that everyone understood how this was forming and what was happening. And that was really important to me to be able to give that to my employer so that they felt safe. No different, I said, than people who have lives outside of their homes.
Yeah.
They have children, right? Who takes care of your children in the evening? Do you? Do your wife? Does your husband? How does that work? Because if you have one person taking care of the child you're rearing, I've got 13 behind me taking care of the child I'm rearing. So who wins on that front? Um, and so that's how I approached it with the employer that I had and how I started off on my journey.
And so when did you finally say, okay, I'm going to take the leap now and leave a 30-year successful corporate job to become an entrepreneur? Like what was the epiphany there and the aha moment that I'm jumping?
You know what? I'll be honest. It was forced on me.
Okay.
My company went through a layoff, and I was at the time leading the largest revenue producing business unit in my company. When rumors were talking about layoffs, it was the first time in my pharmaceutical career I did not jump because I absolutely loved what I was doing. I was thriving and succeeding, and then I was one of the first rounds to go. And everybody I talked to was so excited for me. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're built for this. Now you finally get to do it. And I thought, and how do I pay for insurance? And what do I do about my 401k?
And
And
your company car, and it's like you're so displaced, but
yes,
think about how much better off you were compared to your peers who hadn't been
mhm,
planning for a future outside of the corporate environment, which does a lot of layoffs, especially in your industry. So think about how much better off you were. And it's kind of like a sign from the gods, I think.
it
It's
is.
another door that opens.
It
Yeah.
is the most beautiful sign from the entrepreneur gods, but I did not have to make any sacrifice, except maybe myself, and that brought me into this world. And there has not been, and I have said this from day one, in the middle of all the chaos, I have never felt more calm. I have never felt more determined that this is what I'm supposed to be doing in the world. And the beautiful people, much like you coming and us getting to do this today, that have entered my world because I chose to be an entrepreneur are blessings. I document them. If you looked in my phone, you would see I have about 1,300 documented tiny, I call them tiny little Christmas miracles of people coming into my life who, for no other reason, are there because I chose to be an entrepreneur. And I think that's a thing of beauty. So I keep documenting so that I have a full heart of gratitude on the journey. And I do believe that that is what keeps me calm in the face of chaos.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much because I think we could probably agree that the fear, the anxiety, the stress, the just the sheer panic. I know I experienced it when I started my first company, and then you have so much self-doubt, your
Yeah,
confidence, and you don't take time to take a step back and say, look at how many steps I did take forward. So I love the idea that you're kind of just documented the gratitude of of what's around you, but also what you're doing and the difference you're making. And maybe more people should, every day say, this is what I've done to serve my customers. This is what I've done to move the needle. This is,
Exactly.
this is wonderful. Instead, I think sometimes we get down
Hmm.
really quick. And I think sometimes we quit sooner than we should because we don't know, the fear, I think, just paralyzes us.
You're so right. I'm getting ready to launch a coaching program
Mm-hmm.
with a woman who's had her own business, her own consulting business for 30 years. And we're calling it the Energypsies. And it's looking at the energy you bring into the world, whether it's your personal life, whether it's your professional life. Ooh, a little bug crawling around. Whether it's your personal life or your professional life, what's the energy that you bring into your world? And the reason we're doing that is because we want to be intentionally fearless, which is it's the overarching theme of everything I do in my entrepreneur journey, which is to be intentionally fearless. It's more than being vulnerable. It's more than saying I have courage. It is every day with intention, standing in the determination that you will move forward. You're not going to be entirely fearless, but you're going to be moving from what if to acting as if to I am. And I firmly believe in every book I've read, every podcast I've listened to, and every coaching program that I've gone through. I'm a certified trauma coach. All of that coaching begins with gratitude and finding where you can, to your point, Maureen, it is, you can miss the biggest moment of how someone's life has been impacted because you used your own story and made a difference in their world. If we don't start owning that down to our soul, that that's what we do, then the moments where it feels like I have done everything and I've not moved the label on this project overrides the beauty of how you changed another lives, and most importantly, how you impacted your own and your business. We have to find the gratitude, and I'm a believer in documenting it. So I believe we do have to document it as well.
I love this. So, when you left corporate, what was the greatest challenge between working in a corporate environment where everything is very structured, you have unlimited money, unlimited resources, to all of a sudden transitioning to owning your own business? What did you find to be the most difficult?
It took me, oh gosh, several months, maybe almost a year, to realize that if I didn't start taking care of myself on this journey, that there was going to be no one to do it. That my businesses, my revenue streams, and I think the part of the beauty of being an entrepreneur is you start to see where you can plug in and fit a different demographic with what you already do in your own zone of genius with one. And so you can find how that parlays into multiple streams of revenue and you can pursue all of those. None of that gets done if you are not on this earth to do it. So the biggest challenge for me was, okay, I'm going to get out of bed, I'm going to hit the ground running, and I'm going to eat breakfast. I'm going to go into my office. I did create my own office space because I wanted to have a dedicated space. And then around, noon, I think, gosh, I'm a little lightheaded. And did I really eat breakfast? Did I brush
Mm,
my teeth?
yeah.
What, those things, those care of yourself had, for me, been wiped out by the energy and the excitement I had for my business. So I think the challenge, and I want to talk about this because I think it's vital to raise your hand and say that this the quotes you read, this theory that you have to put in the grind, and if you are
Mhm.
sleeping or you are away from your office, that you are not invested enough in your business, I think is a lie. And I think it's that burnout that can contribute to people quitting before it's time for them to quit. I think your creativity, the passion, what you do within your business is thwarted unless you take the time for yourself. And that was the biggest learning because when I decided to ask the questions of the really smart people and say, I think something might be wrong with my health. The first response back I got from my physiologist was, Carolyn, you are more actively dying than you are living. And that was really hard to hear.
Yeah, that's really hard to hear right now for somebody to say something so deep and you got to take a step back. And now I'm sitting here questioning my life. Like, what am I doing? Right. You don't want your business to own you. You leave, corporate, or you envision freedom with your company. And I guess we could be enslaved to it if we let that happen. And so how do you prevent that from happening? Like, what tips do you have for entrepreneurs, or really anybody? Because people can be like slaves to corporate as well, and not have a balance out there. What do you say to people?
I love this opportunity that we're creating, because I don't want to bring something up, throw it out in the world and say, okay, you all figure it out.
Yeah.
Here's what I did. I really did find the smart people. I work with this gentleman named Eric, who has his own company called Oracle Health. Eric has gone top to bottom, head to toe, inside out, to help me understand how my body works and what I need to fuel it properly, what I need to hydrate properly, and what I need to do for exercise. And then, as entrepreneurs, as humans, we have to live it. And that means, just as you would put an agenda in for your day, you have to put an agenda in for yourself that encompasses that exercise, that encompasses the eating right, that encompasses every moment of stepping away. Every time I step away, when I come back, I am smarter, I am more agile, I come up with more ideas, and I execute them way faster than when I was putting in 18 hours plus, sleeping 4, getting up, doing it again, and included 0 exercise, 0 meditation time, 0 yoga time. The most I got in meditation was, again, writing down my gratitude in my phone. That's not enough. So budgeting that into the agenda is vital. It's just vital. And it makes you come back into your businesses with better understanding and better ideas. Because it turns out, big secret, the really smart people who tell you that what you feed your body actually feeds your gut, your brain, and your soul are all right. And they're all right. So if you're going to ask the questions of the really smart people, and the answers you get are the really smart answers, it's to your benefit. Just as you would accept business advice from an expert in your field, to accept the advice of your health, for your health, from the smart people that you can find. And execute on that as hard as you execute on your business plans.
I love this. What great advice. And I have to tell you, I am going to have to listen to it. So for entrepreneurs out there who are just starting, this isn't just for you. These are for people who have been doing it for a long time as well, where I'm identifying a gap right now in my own life just by having this conversation. So I feel like, wow, afterwards, I'm going to have to really analyze, am I really putting a lot of hours into this? And I will be the first to say I am not as much into the self-care as I should be. And I think with entrepreneurs, you really, like you're saying, have to almost step it up with that. So
I will challenge. One of the things that I did with a group of friends is, when COVID first started, and we have continued it from the minute that everything went into lockdown, and we still do it. We have a 5 women who get together for 15 minutes every Monday morning. And we have done it consistently for all this time. Now we're doing a plank challenge where we have to report into each other via text every day. We have to do a regular plank and a wall plank, and we have to report back to each other every day. If there are entrepreneurs that you connect with, or just people that you connect with, set up a tiny accountability group where we commit that at 8:15 every Monday, or at 4:15 every Tuesday, whatever fits the schedule, we have to check in with each other. We have to tell our health goals. We have to give a status via text or via Marco Polo, or all the different apps that are possibly out there, that says, here's what I've done to maintain and keep my commitment to my health. And that has kept me on track with a big chunk of this. And for me now, as I'm entering this second part of my health journey, it's more vital than ever for me to keep up with my accountability group. That's one thing I've considered doing with a group of entrepreneurs, to really be able to have this little touch point and say, hey, what are we doing for our health this week in addition to our business? And that will be a way to retrain your brain, because if you have to tell 4 other people, it can't be big. It has to be a tiny little entity. If you have to tell up 4 other people, yeah, so I didn't exercise yesterday and I had 4 glasses of wine with dinner. It might be the thing that keeps you from doing that if you have to show up for other people.
I love the accountability thing. And, entrepreneurship can be so isolating.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can go ahead and just partner with people and network with people and kind of build a tribe of entrepreneurs who are, experiencing pretty much the same thing, just maybe differently because it's a different industry or they've got, just a different type of company. But at the end of the day, the journeys overlap. They are very, very similar. And it just seems to be the entrepreneurial way. This is what it's like. So tell me who your very first customer was when you started your business.
Oh gosh. So my very first customer that I had so I'll start with my nonprofit. My very first customer with my nonprofit, it's Safe in Harm's Way. We recognize that across this country, actually across the world, there are hundreds of thousands of unmet needs as it relates to people who are living with the sadness, the worry, the lies, the fear, the screaming, the pain of domestic violence. Mm-hmm. So being online, we are the stop where at 2 a.m., when someone is most sad and they're thinking, okay, this happened again, but the person apologized, but yet they did it again. And this has been like the 14 and the 210 times they did it. Safe in Harm's Way is built for people to get their resources at that exact moment. Our first customers for that were actually people that we connected to via social media. You and I have talked about social media being a little bit of a beast, but they were people who saw our message, heard our message, and then turned around and either gave it to someone they knew that needed that help or used it themselves. And so it was just a small group of survivors who happened to find us, and then it grew and grew and grew. Now we have a team of about 250 what we call smart warriors, which are social media action response team members. If anyone would ever want to volunteer their time to be a smart warrior, really all you have to do is take the content from Safe in Harm's Way and publish it on your social media. We write it all out for you. All you got to do is copy and paste and put it in. And our biggest hashtag there is hashtag because you never know, because you don't. There are 60% of the population showing up to work every day or showing up on a Teams call, and you will never know the psychological, the emotional, the sexual, and the physical bruises they are hiding from home. And having that appear in social media in a benign way allows them to get the services they need at the most perfect time for them. So those were our first customers at Safe in Harm's Way. And it's beautiful. I still get random texts from folks and talk about fueling your soul when you feel as if you've touched someone and documenting that so you remember the times when you're wondering, what in the heck did I do today? I still get messages from people who say, thank you for what you do. And you changed my life. And that moment, it's getting into the hundreds now of messages like that we know we have helped people. And that's a beautiful thing for not only themselves, but their children and their pets too.
And how long has this nonprofit been in existence?
Officially, so this is insane to me. We have been fiscally sponsored by another nonprofit for a lot of years. When we decided that we were big enough to go in our own, with COVID, it took almost a year plus for us to get our official 501c3 status. So we became officially a nonprofit on 4/20/2021, which is a really easy date for me to remember, 4/20/2021.
Yes.
And that moment between then and now, we have launched over a campaign in Times Square, and we developed a very, very specific with our partners at domesticshelters.org and then our partners at the Out of Home Advertising Association and a partnership with Neon, which is an IPG health media company, which just won the premier, corporation at the Cannes Film Festival and at the Clio Awards. That's the kind of folks we partnered with to create a campaign to eliminate isolation as a form of abuse. And that premiered in Times Square and made 1 billion impressions and opportunities for people to get help at Safe in Harm's Way and our site that's called thelastimsorry.com for that specific campaign. 1 billion impressions and increased our access to services by over 151,000%.
Oh my gosh. All
When
right,
we put the
everybody.
data, I was like, can I
This
really
is
check that?
huge.
Yeah, huge,
Huge,
massive,
huge success. Like
huge
that's well, I bet that pharma company regrets the day they ever said, "All right, Caroline, we're having layoffs and you're the first to go."
yeah.
I bet they're kicking themselves today.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, I kind of hope so, actually.
I You know what? It's amazing. I always say living well is the best revenge.
It is.
I mean, look how amazing what you're doing. You're making an impact and you're multiplying your impact. And think about it. You would not have been able to do this if somebody didn't kick you out the door, because you have to question, would I have ever taken the leap if it
Never.
wasn't forced upon me?
Right. Never.
So, some things, when we say to people out there, I have some clients who are kicking and screaming that they've become entrepreneurs because they feel displaced in the marketplace. They can't get back in. And a lot of my clients are over 50. And that seems to be the ageism issue. And they're kicking and screaming. And I'm saying, look, you can go ahead and keep looking for a job, and that's okay. But also go ahead and fuel this business, because that other job may never come about, and at least you have something. So embrace this, right? Embrace it. You can always go back to corporate. I think sometimes it's much easier to have a day job. I'm going to be honest with you. Having that steady paycheck is a lot easier, and so, oh my gosh. So tell me what is next for you with your company. I mean, we're always thinking about the scaling part of it. Where do you think you're going next with everything?
We will always, at Safe in Harm's Way, we will always have the pillar of thelastimsorry.com. There'll be some version of that. We also disrupted Instagram to the tune of about 4.5 million accounts just a month later with Safe in Harm's Way, and called Uninterrupted Stories. Those will all be there always. We're going to keep just being present for when the people need us most and putting out content. We've got great content creators who come to us with their own personal stories, and we know that allows other people to feel less alone in their own journey. But, I mentioned earlier, Maureen, how when you start to get into your entrepreneur journey, you're going to find where your specialty, what you do well, can cross into other arenas. So we're actually taking what we do at Safe in Harm's Way, and then at Epizon Strategy Solutions, we take everything at Safe in Harm's Way for the individual, and we put it into the context of a company. So we work with companies to craft their conversations around domestic violence, because again, 60% of their employees are showing up having experienced it. It's a $3.4 trillion problem in the United States. Domestic violence is the number one very big warning sign of any mass shooting. Domestic violence in the workplace is the number one way that people are going to be killed in the workplace, because people show up to kill the person that they're after. So domestic violence, people sit there and go, oh, it doesn't affect me. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It affects every news story that you see now on TV. So we take those tools that we give to survivors, and we actually put it in the context for a company. So we are upping the ante on that, because we are creating moments where people can book us through visit.org, and you can actually have us come in to your company and create this moment for you to be able to increase your awareness and take the training and tools. We have partnerships that we bring for reward and recognition. And so the biggest thing we're coming up with is our reward and recognition program as it relates to employers. And what we're doing there with reward and recognition is a company that we're calling Nakitas. I have two business partners in that, Melissa Mansfield Anderson and Nosheen. So we are a diverse group of women, and we are bringing this reward and recognition program to employers where they can take their top salespeople and create a best-selling book. Because Melissa is the powerhouse publisher behind two of the three of my international best-selling books, and she's done that, I think, 8 times over. Wow. She has the protocol locked down. She has everything locked down. Nikita's will work with employers who have these big, reward and recognition programs. And actually, we will humanize the corporation by interviewing them to tell their corporate story. And then each top performing salesperson or whatever they want to identify as their top performers with the entity will get to write a chapter. And then that book compilation will be put out into the market and achieve bestseller status. So you have the ability to attract and retain top employees at the age when folks are leaving. You have the ability to take maybe mid-level performers and they up their ante because they want to be a best-selling book author, when 0.01% of the entire world population can make that claim. If you're a salesperson and your ego is pretty big, you're going to want that title after your name. And so we've come up with a complete protocol at Nikitas.com that allows employers to give that recognition and that different spin on really capitalizing the whole human who shows up at work in a way that allows them to get their own personal story and message out, and it attracts the people that company will want to have in the future as they grow as well.
I love it. Oh my gosh. You're amazing. That's all I'm gonna say is you're amazing. And I'm like, mic drop at this point. I'm just trying to process it all. So where can people get a hold of you again? If they want to reach out to you, what's the best way?
Anybody can always go to CarolineMarkelHammond.com and they can register for any of those different services that I just said. If you want to strip all that away, if anyone wants to contact me at Caroline@safeinharmsway.org, then I can take people out and put them in the right bucket of what they need. I get messages all the time that said, hey, I just found out about you. I do this. I would love to volunteer. Where can you fit me? So from volunteering to find out more about our programs, to be in one of our coaching programs, all of that is under one house if you wanted to reach CarolineMarkelHammond.com or you wanted to see Caroline at safeinharmsway.org.
So will you come back?
I will come back anytime you ask me. Maureen, you are such an authentic leader, and you really invest not only in this program, but in the entrepreneurs that you coach through their journey. Anytime that I can hang out with someone who is as fiercely intelligent, as dedicated, and as committed to offering the services to the people that join her, I will raise my hand. I will bring a marching band and fireworks over how much fun that is, and I will say yes every time.
Thank you very much. And I just have absolutely loved getting to know you, and I really adore you in just the 30 minutes that we have spoken. So, and I can't imagine anybody who is not watching this who will feel the same way. So thank you so much, Caroline, for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me, Maureen. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you.
Oh, and everybody, we just wanted to let you know that we are here next Thursday if you want to hear another rock star and their journey. And if you need anything from me, please reach out to 8simplesteps.net. And this one's going to be tough to beat, but I'll find one for you. All right, everybody.
So much, my friend.
You are so welcome. Take care.
You too.